All right, so yesterday I installed this iLiving 14-inch multi-speed shutter mounted exhaust fan with thermostat I got from Lowe's. I had Lowe's delivered out here to the farm. Got a pretty good deal with my military discount. This worked out really well. I think I would have been disappointed if I'd have gone with the 10-inch. I think it would have been a little bit too small for this little shop, but and you're not going to feel, it's not like a fan blowing on you. It's sucking air through the double doors, and and just kind of cools down the area, but it's not like having a fan blowing on you. It's exhausting the hot air out of the building. And in my case, I went with the version that had the built-in plug. It's already wired. And that was for a couple of reasons, mainly because I live way out on the farm. It's over an hour's drive to the nearest hardware store. And I wanted to use this right away. Being that this is a farm, I've always got lots of excess stuff. Like I've got an extra box and an extra outlet. But I didn't have enough wire. I'm going to tie in with this lighting system here, and I'll probably put the box somewhere over here, but I figured one of my neighbors, one of the farms around here, would probably have some extra wire, and I don't have to go buy a whole roll of wire. Now, here looking on the side, you can see that I built a small little wooden frame, and that was in the directions. It recommended building a small frame to fit what I will call the shroud, but it's just part of the metal box where the louvers fit into. So here's a small version. This isn't to scale or anything, but this is just a small version of that. And I realized that once I built it, I could slide it off of that shroud, and that this made a great template. And so I put the wooden frame up against the wall there, and I took my red Sharpie and I marked it out, and then I removed that, and that's where I cut. That's where I cut into the wall up there. And then I put the wooden frame back on. I put the wooden frame back on the fan and slipped it through the hole. And then the directions suggested that I use lag screws, but I didn't want to do that. You can see that I've got bolts in there, so I drilled through the holes. I drilled through the wooden frame and the plywood siding clear on out. And then instead of using those little screws, I used these bolts here. It's got a rounded head on there, and on this side it's got a washer, and I put a locking nut on there, so once it's tightened down, it's not going to vibrate loose or come loose or anything. For my situation, these are 2 inches long. Yours may have to be longer or shorter. I don't know. If I'd used 2x4s, obviously I'd had to have gotten longer bolts. It's just something that I had laying around the farm here. We've always got stuff like that laying around. And so then I went out this morning, and I caulked around the fan, as you'll see here. I caulked around the fan, and I started putting up. I've got cedar that I'm putting around the fan just to kind of clean it up a little bit. I've still got to do the top and the bottom yet, and that'll just kind of clean up the whole thing. But I did caulk it. That'll help keep rain and bugs from getting into the siding and everything. But here's some of that cedar that I bought, or that I had, 1x4 cedar. And so what I did was I cut the sides, and then I went out and I placed it up against the wall, and I took my hand and I hit it real hard, and that round bolt left a divot in each side. And I took the Forstner bit that I've got here on this drill, and I drilled it out so that these heads wouldn't, force the wood away from the building, and because I want this to lay flat. And so that's what I did, and so far it's worked out really, really well. And I'll finish the job up here in just a few minutes. I'll put that top piece of cedar and the bottom piece of cedar on there, and that'll clean it up. If you're living in a city or something, you could take your router and route out, you know, you could put a nice beveled edge or round the edge or something if you wanted to. And for that matter, I could have left this outside facing, but I wanted the rough wood on outside. Being that it's cedar, it'll last a long time. I don't have to paint it or anything. I don't have to treat it. It'll help keep the bugs out of there, getting into the siding and everything else. But that's what and I just happen to have it. I just happen to have some 1x4 cedar stock laying around, since this is a little woodworking shop that I've got. You know, I've always got extra scraps laying around, stuff like that. So anyway, that's what I did to install this iLiving fan. I just thought I'd post it on there because I did notice there was a couple other videos on YouTube, and they were looking pretty janky. Those other projects, people were using all kinds of weird tools to cut through their wood and their metal siding, and it just looked nasty. So I just thought I'd show you my version. Did a little bit cleaner job. It didn't take me very long, a couple hours, to get to the point where I am right now, and it works really, really well. Mine's got 3-speed, and it's got the thermostat on there, so I can always set that if I want. But for the time being, we're just kind of use it on full speed here. So anyway, I hope the video helped you out a little bit and gave you some ideas, and hopefully your project to go well.